Evan, this is a similar question to the one that you asked me about last night. And I've tried to make the unit circle over here on the right-hand side of the screen large enough for you to see what I'm talking about. So what we're being asked to do is find an angle whose cosine is equal to negative 0.35. So what angle, when I take the cosine of it, is going to give me that number of negative 0.35? So there's two things that you need to remember here. First, when we talk about cosine values, especially on our unit circle over here, because we're talking about a circle that has a radius of 1. So when we think of the cosine of some angle, that answer is going to come from the x coordinates of uh, the x coordinates. Okay, so we want to look along the x-axis here for my cosine. The other thing I need to understand is the angle I'm looking for that's going to produce a negative cosine result. So what angle, when I take the cosine of it, it's going to give me a negative value, occurs in two different quadrants. For cosine, those quadrants are going to be the second and the third quadrants. So when I take the cosine of any angle from the second and the third quadrant, I get a negative value. So what angle, when I take the cosine of it, is going to give me back negative 0.35. So when I come over here and I like mark off these tick marks, each one of the tick marks here on the x-axis is a 0.1. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3.5. And I can either go up to meet the circle, and that would put me in the second quadrant. If I do that, so I am here, if you follow my line down, back down to the x-axis, I am at negative 0.35 on the x-axis, and that's going to relate to an angle rotation that's going to stop right here where my arrow is at, and that's at roughly, what would we say, like 1.9, because each one of the pink tick marks here is a 0.2. So I'm not quite at 2, I'm at maybe 1.9. Now, if we come back down here to my 1, 2, 3.5, so I'm right here again, and this time if I follow it down here to the in the third quadrant, remember that this is an angle that rotates around, so that pink line here is going to rotate all the way around, and it's going to stop down here at on the circle when the x coordinate is negative 0.35. So we looks like we would be at 4.2, maybe call it 4.4 because it's not exactly perfect here. Either of those two answers, either 1.9 from the second quadrant or 4.4, I think I just said, 4.3 in the third quadrant should result um, in a correct answer. So if I put in the positive 1.9, let's see if it gives us a correct answer. Nice work. Again, if you put in this answer resulting in the third quadrant at 4 point, let's say 3 or 4, that would have resulted in the same correct response also, because there's two angles that when I take the cosine of them are going to result in a negative 0.35. So I hope that helps you solve that question.